evening to you. It is an honor to come to you once again Sunday night with my very good friend and mentor, Dan Borrero. What's up, Dan?
What's going on, Mr. Haskins?
Good to see you, my brother.
Likewise.
I am Chris Haskins. I'll be your co pilot tonight as we talk about real estate investing, entrepreneurship, the ups and downs of being a landlord. And please, if you want to come on with us, just hit the button or get your questions in the chat. We are more than happy to answer any and all questions so we can help you be more successful with your real estate investments. Dan Barrero, what's been going on this week, brother?
As usual, man, fighting the tide, right? It feels like sometimes as entrepreneurs in general, like we go in the ocean just to take a quick swim and that big wave just comes over and knocks you off on your ass, even though you only went up to your knees, right? That was one of those big waves this week. I'll tell you a situation that I want to share with the audience because I truly believe that this is a learning moment. So
Yeah.
one of the things that Chris and I are always talking about when you're dealing with managing property is also
One second
dealing.
before you go, let me announce, if you don't mind, you guys, please put your name and where you are in the chat. Your name and what city you're in the chat so we know where you're at. Go ahead, Dan.
And if you want to come on live with us and ask your question direct, please do.
Yeah, just hit the
Um,
button. I'll give you the link.
I have one of the most difficult things when it comes to managing property is managing personalities, not only tenants but neighbors and your entire team, including people outside of that team, whether it be an HOA manager, whoever that is. So I had an apartment that's on
Realtor,
first.
property manager, neighbor, insurance person, contractor, electric. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, that's your job, managing personalities. So I had a tenant that called me last Thursday at 12:30 at night. Actually, sent me an email 12:30 at night. I called them immediately as soon as I saw it. I was still working at my desk, and fast forward, they tell me they just came home from work and there's a ton of water in the kitchen on the floor. So I told them where to go turn off the water main. He did that. And now this is in Florida. I'm in New York. So they
So
turned
me
off the water
driving over
main.
there.
Yeah, they told me they were going to mop it up. I said no problem. I had my plumber there at 8:30 in the morning. My plumber turns around and says, "I think it's coming from the dividing wall between both apartments, the apartment behind yours and your apartment." So I called the HOA. HOA says they can't determine where it's coming from because it kept coming, kept coming. So Storm, brother, you want to, like anyone here, Storm, anybody wants to come on, please click on that participate button. So I'm sharing this because I want you to understand that being managing property is not only managing tenants. So fast forward, uh, I had my plumber go back. He cut out a hole behind the refrigerator and behind the washing machine area, and then determined that it was coming from the apartment behind us. Well, I reached out to the HOA. They came out and checked it by 1 o'clock that afternoon. They too confirmed that that was the fact. Well, the HOA kept contacting the owner, calling the owner through emails, through text messages, through phone messages. And guess what the owner would say? Well, I'll be there maybe Monday or Tuesday. Maybe,
What day was
maybe.
this?
This is now Saturday. This is Friday, right?
Oh,
So I'm like, there's no maybes in here. Now, people are going to ask, well, why did the HOA just cut off the valve, the shutoff valve? Because if they cut off the valve, they'd be cutting off the valve to the whole building. They're not individual valves unless you get into the unit. And he wasn't giving anyone access, right? So fast forward. To make a long story short, it didn't get done until Tuesday. The damage that it created means I have to, I have tiles that are now popping up. I got to remove the kitchen base cabinets, take off the granite counter first. I got to now replace all the
oh my
sheetrock,
God.
dry it first behind the wall, and then put in like heaters and dehumidifiers, commercial heaters, commercial dehumidifiers. And then I got to treat it to make sure there's no mold that grows. Then I got to put back the new sheetrock, put back the new soundboard, put back the kitchen
Oh
cabinets,
my
put
Lord.
back the granite counters, hook up again all the water fixtures, put down the new floor, grout the new floor, clean the place up so that the tenant could move all their furniture back.
Oh
That's
my
a week.
Lord.
That's a week's work, and about $20,000 to $25,000 in damages. As a result of, if he had just went that day or the following day, it would have been minimal damage,
Oh
right?
my
So
God.
the point is, what do I have to do now? He won't speak to me. I already know I got to sue him. I don't want to go through my insurance company
You
because my
know
insurance
you
company,
know the
I got to,
guy. You know the
what?
guy. You know that
I
you just
don't
have.
know, but he will not speak to me. He won't pick up my phone calls or respond to my emails.
How'd you get his number?
Online, man. Online. You can find anything online,
You got okay.
right?
My wife.
So, but what happened was it was a problem with the HOA one time, and everybody, all the owners got together. I just went looking for his emails, and I just found his email address in that thread.
Got it.
Right. So now I know I got to sue him. Now people are going to ask you, why don't you go to the insurance policy? Because I got a $5,000 insurance deductible. So for $15,000 that they're going to give me back, my other properties are all going to go skyrocketing on my insurance premiums because of one claim that I had no fault in.
Oh,
For the
wow.
next 3 years, they'll all increase dramatically because of a claim. So no, I'm not going to blow my load on a $15,000 check and then pay much more money than that over the years on all my other properties because they're going to go up as a result of an insurance claim. So, guys, managing property means that you got to manage multiple different personalities and sometimes neighbors that are imposing their ignorance, their laziness, their stupidity on you.
On you.
That's
Oh,
just the reality.
that's rough, Dan. What did you learn on this? What could you have done? What could you have done, man?
There's nothing I could have done differently. My next step was to call the fire department. Actually, that came to my mind because I had done that years ago on a different property. Um, I was waiting for the watermark to get close to the outlet to then say, look, they're causing a fire. It's a potential fire. At that point, the fire department could break the door and go in and turn off their water main.
Couldn't your tenant talk to the current tenant and tell him to cut the damn thing
Tenant
off?
wasn't in town. That's the only reason it got turned off because the tenant that was in there came back late Monday night, saw water all over their kitchen, and then called up my tenant. My tenant told them where to turn off their water main.
Wow.
Right.
It'd be
So, guys,
slow, dude.
the reality is that sometimes
Things gonna
we
happen.
get imposed on. So now, this is one of the things I did do. I did send him on Saturday because on the public records where he gets his tax bill, his real estate tax bill, is a P.O. box. So I sent to his P.O. box first class letter, certified return receipt letter, priority mail letter. Same letter, right? Then I went on to Sunbiz because under the state of Florida, you got to register. You can't register whoever's in charge of that corporation or LLC to a P.O. box. So at Sunbiz, I got another address, and when I Googled it, it appears to be his home address. So I sent him again. First class letter, certified return receipt letter, priority mail letter. Why did I do that? Because the first class letter, he could say he didn't get. The priority mail letter, he can't say he didn't get because it gets the post office. With the tracking number, tells me when they put it in his mailbox. And the third certified return receipt letter, now I have additional documented proof that I did everything possible to try to communicate with this man, including all the emails I sent him, plus
Wow.
my phone logs on my cell phone. So now I got 5 redundant forms of proof that I
Oh my
tried to
lord.
resolve this matter without getting this far. So when I go to
Wow.
court, he's going to have a very difficult time showing that he wasn't negligent. On top of that, I found his Facebook page, and he was hanging out the whole weekend. He was posting it. So I actually recorded those videos and those pictures in case he takes them down. So when we go to court, I'm like, yo, judge, he was in town. Look what he
Oh
posted.
my lord. Kathy Fields says, "Why can't you contact the other party's insurance company?"
Well, because they're not, I don't know who they are. And two, when I put my claim in against him, he could do that if he wants. Yes.
That is, oh man.
But I don't know if they're going to cover it because he has an obligation to mitigate the damages.
Mitigate. Yeah, you gotta do
And
it quick.
he didn't take any mitigation. He didn't take any effort in mitigating those damages.
You're saying they might deny the claim.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is I'm going to put a lien against that property. I know for a fact this is what's going to happen. I'm going to get the claim. The judgment. I'm going to put the lien against his property, and then I got to hire a private investigator to figure out where his bank accounts are under that company name, and then garnish the money out of those accounts.
Now that's deep. You know, Dan, people think that you buy a piece of real estate and sit back and you just sip pina coladas and the money comes rolling in.
No, and the reality is, why am I taking this stand? Because my obligation as a landlord is to make sure that my tenant enjoys a quiet and peaceful use of that particular space that
Quiet
he's renting.
enjoyment. Quiet enjoyment.
And he was unable to enjoy that property that he was renting because of the imposition that the neighbor put upon us. Right
Mm.
now, I can't control the neighbor, but I can control my actions. And he knew that we were on it from day one, and I kept him abreast to everything that was going on, including putting him as one of the people I was copying every single time the HOA responded or I responded to the HOA.
I wonder why any landlord would want to find out what's going on because his place no doubt got damaged with water too.
You know what, man? I could tell that from the pictures that my expediter sent me. He had a broken window that appeared to be cracked for a long time. You could tell when a property owner doesn't care just from the outside of a property.
Yeah.
Um, its door needed to be painted. Apparently, the HOA's violated him several times for the exterior of his porch area. So that tells me immediately this guy's truly the epitome of a slum landlord. He's the epitome of what you and I try to combat against every single day as far as a stereotype is concerned.
You know, Dan, it's so crazy, man. Everybody, I never forget. I had a neighbor one time. I tried to just work out something with on a multifamily unit, and you just don't know what personality. I asked my wife, I'm like, "Why is this guy?" She goes, "All he worried about is going to work tomorrow. He might be worried about his wife screaming on him. His kids might. I mean, it's a million things that these people are going through, Dan, and they ain't thinking about you."
No, they don't care. They don't care. And look, so you want to be a landlord, you got to understand it's your obligation to provide a clean and safe environment to your tenants.
Yeah, that's
Whether
true.
and when something happens, whether it's your fault or someone else's fault, it's irrelevant. You still got to fix it.
You got to step in, man.
You got to step in. Worry about how it happened and why it happened later, so that you could come up with a process and procedures to avoid that from happening again.
Yeah,
Um, but the reality is, it's not your tenant's fault that it's happened. You got to repair this and take care of it as quickly as possible.
got to fix it. Being a man and being a landlord. I know what I wanted to ask you, Dan. So round up, please smash a thumbs up for that story, Dan. You just learned a lot. Well, I just learned. And so, what would you do differently, Dan? Would you try to get a? I don't know. What would you do differently?
So the reality is, man, that if I was on ground, I probably would have done things that I couldn't be talking about on this platform. You know, I would have done stuff to get into that apartment and at least turn off the water. But that's me, but I can't talk about that on that platform.
Okay. I wanted to ask you. So I'm in the process of selling one of my units. Right, it's a condo. Town condo. Yeah. Apparently, Dan. So when I bought it, the lady didn't pay any back taxes. Remember, I told you my title company missed the taxes a few weeks
Yes.
ago. So the title
Yep.
company paid those, and the seller didn't pay any HOA fees. So we had $13,000 of back HOA fees when I bought it. We had to pay at closing. But then now I'm going to sell it, right? And apparently, this building had two HOAs, Dan.
So there's a master. So you want to explain to the audience what that means and why?
I don't know. This shit came up Friday. I'm getting ready to go to closing. They sent me a $10,000 bill. So now I'm asking you, how the hell can a
Oh,
place have two freaking HOA? I just paid
so
13
that
grand
means
when I bought it.
the building's located in a community then. Is
I
it?
don't. It's one. Okay. It has buildings. You know, it's got like 10 buildings in this one little area.
Right. So there's a master HOA, which is the monthly on that is usually much lower than the regular HOA. And that master HOA is responsible to maintain the curb appeal on the exterior, the roads, the sidewalks, the water, the sprinkler systems. There might be like amenities for all the buildings to use in one building. They own those amenities, and everybody pays a smaller fee annually to that master HOA. So I got it. I got one like that in Winter Gardens in Florida, where the monthly HOA fee is $350, and then the master HOA fee is $25. So it's $300. Rather, it's $300 a year. So instead of paying that master HOA once a year, I'll pay it rather every month for $25. I just send them a check for the year. Now, depending on the community and where it's at, I've seen master HOAs as high as $200-300 a month. So if they owe $10,000, they were probably in foreclosure too. Did you get it out of foreclosure?
Nah, they paid cash.
No, when you bought the property, if they had not paid the HOA fees, usually it's also in the process of going into foreclosure. Was it in the
No,
process of going into foreclosure?
no, they paid cash. They didn't have a loan.
Okay, then that's different. All right.
Yeah, I
So
don't know.
what normally happens is that you got to pay back all those HOA fees. Now, the state of Florida, I don't know about your state. You got to look into this. If the HOA can't prove that they were going after that person every month for the last 12 months, the bank only has to pay, or you only have to pay up to 12 months. So let's say they owed 36 months. If the HOA can't prove that they were relentlessly going after that person for the money over a certain amount of time of the year, you're only responsible to pay up to the last 12 months. So if they owe the HOA 36 months, the HOA's has to eat the 24 months. You're only responsible for 12. But that's an attorney question.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in. Well, my question for you is, why wasn't there a lien? Like when I bought it, I remember the liens. It was boom, boom, boom. I remember those liens. It was
Well,
13 grand.
that's a title fault. That's a title company fault. I'd push that onto the title policy.
Well, this all happened Friday, and what made me think are we talking today? So I plan to do that, but my mind is twisted. Like I know we did a title search, and I remember paying for the HOA. How could I have two?
I remember I had a similar situation to this, and I'm going to make up a name right now because I don't want to use his real name. Let's say it's John. And John was like, "Yo, listen, I'll take care of this, Dan. No problem. I'm gonna take care of it." Now he was doing the closing. He did the closing when I bought it, and now he's doing the closing when I'm selling it 3 months
That's
later.
that's my
Oh,
guy. Same thing, exact same
okay.
thing. 3 months.
So now 2 more months goes by, we haven't closed on this, and the buyer's like, "Listen, I'm gonna lose my loan if we don't close by such and such date." His argument was, "Hey, listen, I don't know if I could get this resolved by then." So my argument to his was, "Hey, John, that's what you have errors and omission insurance for, and that's what I have title insurance for. So let's just put a claim in." He says, "But Dan, my policy is going to go up." I said, "But that's a you problem, not a me problem. My problem is closing this, otherwise I'm going to lose my buyer."
Mm.
Do you know it got resolved 24 hours later?
What they paid it out of their pocket?
I don't know where the money came from. I know it was paid.
All right, I'm gonna deal with this tomorrow, man. We're supposed to be closing. I'm like, this thing just
Title
came.
company does not want you to put in a claim against their errors and omissions or against the title policy, because then they're going to make a whole lot less money because their errors and omissions is going to go up as well as the title policy insurance.
Yeah.
The spread gets smaller for them.
Y'all give us a thumbs up if you're getting any value out of this. Dan, that's all I already had. Any questions? Y'all get the questions in for Dan and me tonight. We want to help you help you get some value out of your next real estate investment if we can do that. I don't
So,
see.
Chris, one of the mistakes you probably made was, did you get somebody just put that here, Kathy Fields? I always ask for copies of the HOA documents.
I did. I got the whole thing.
Okay.
It's
I
called a
always
resale packet.
I also always ask and go visit the HOAs to make sure that their reserves are all up to state par, right? One of the other questions I'll ask is how many delinquencies do you have? Um, of, let's say if there's 200 doors in there, I'd say, how many doors do you have? 200. Okay. How many of those doors are owned by end users versus investors? And why do I ask that question? I ask it because if it's not more than 50 or 60% of end users, FHA, it's going to be very difficult. All they can get in there is conventional loans, which are harder to get than FHA loans. And the harder that community is to get loans against, the
That's
lower the
fine.
prices will keep. But now, if it's FHA approved, the prices have a much more likelihood of going up in value.
You know, I gotta tell you, Dan. I think when I bought this, I told you I didn't do all my due diligence because the purchase price was 125, right? And remember on our last live, I told you there's nothing in the entire city under 200. So I knew even if I just bought it, cleaned it up, I could sell it for 190, whatever. So I'm like, man, this is
So there's
what
plenty of room, plenty of room.
it's plenty of room, but that's not my point. My point is, Chris, how did I'm just trying to figure out how did I miss it and what could I do differently and all that. There's plenty of room in it, Dan, but golly. Two separate
It's
Kathy for two separate HOA. One is for the front lawn, backyard, grass. Second for the outside of the community where the HOA takes care of the entrance to the community. Yeah, could be. Andrew,
No, look, you can't trust title companies. That's what you got to try. You don't. You're not. You're buying insurance to trust them.
they make you buy it.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. So you're paying them to do a job, to do the searches, and then you got to pay insurance just in case they didn't do their job.
That's bullshit, man. I wish I could get that on my deals, Dan. I'm like, shit, I messed
Tell
up,
me
man.
about it, right? Listen, I'm going to go make an investment, but if it goes flop, I have an insurance policy that's going to pay me back all my money.
Real estate investment insurance.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Listen, give us a follow, thumbs up. That's all we got for tonight. We want to just share with you what's going on in our world. I'll tell you guys about this fire I had last week. It's getting late. So, Dan, thank you so much. Give Dan a follow at USA Land Ventures on YouTube and hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you guys. All right, we got one quick question. Golly, why y'all doing this? True Ascending Ancient. When signing the home purchase agreement for a home and title transfer documents, can you sign as LLC trustee?
that's
Yes,
that's a you question there.
absolutely. You can sign your trust. Your trustee can be an LLC you know. Absolutely, you own. Okay. All right. Round up. Much love to you. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Good night.
Thanks, Dan.